My beloved child, welcome back again on this sacred space where brokenness meets divine purpose. If you've ever felt like your heart keeps shattering just when you begin to hope again, this message is for you. Please, don't forget to subscribe and let us walk together through this season. Share in the comments how God has been speaking to your heart lately. You never know who your story might heal. You are not alone, and there's something here your spirit has been waiting to hear. Now lean in, because what seems like heartbreak might be heaven's most loving interruption. Sometimes. God doesn't allow certain relationships, opportunities, or even dreams to stay. Not because he wants to see you suffer, but because he sees the weight they carry, weight that would crush you before your blessing could bloom. But it's hard to understand that in the moment of loss. It's all you can feel is the sting of being left behind again. Why would a loving God let you get so close, only to let it fall apart? This is where many walk away. When it hurts too much, when disappointment becomes a pattern, the tears don't make sense and the prayers feel unanswered, you think, if God truly loved me, why would he let this break me? But here's the divine mystery. Sometimes God allows the breaking so that when the blessing finally comes, it has a healed heart to land on. Maybe he's been removing people who never saw your worth. Maybe he's been shutting doors that lead to shallow foundations. Maybe every heartbreak was actually a holy redirection, but it doesn't feel holy. When you're crying at night, it doesn't feel holy when you're tired of starting over. And still, God is doing something beneath the surface, something you can't yet see. What if the heartbreak wasn't rejection, but protection? What if it was God shielding you from a future that looked good on the outside, but was never part of your divine destiny? It's possible that the very thing you're mourning now would have delayed your purpose later. God breaks what we try to build without him so he can rebuild with something eternal. The tension rises when you start wondering if you're the problem. Maybe you're unlovable. Maybe you're cursed. Maybe blessings just aren't meant for people like you. These lies sneak in quietly. They sound logical because the pain is real. But here, this God is not punishing you. He's purifying you. There's a difference, and it's sacred. Because sometimes before a heart can carry joy, it must be emptied of idols. That person you thought was your forever, they may have replaced God's voice in your life. It's that dream you clung to tighter than your own peace. It might have distracted you from who you were truly becoming.
So God,
In his mercy, allows the heartbreak not to harm, but to hollow out the clutter.
so his love,
Can have room to flow in full. And here comes the twist. The breaking is not the end, it's the middle. The cocoon before the wings. The crushing of grapes before the wine. The pruning before the fruit. What feels like death to your plans is the resurrection of God's perfect will. And sometimes, the delay of your desire is the development of your destiny. You weren't abandoned, you were being prepared. You weren't forgotten, you were being fortified. God isn't cruel, he's a craftsman. Your heart is not being broken for nothing. It's being broken open so it can stretch wide enough to hold the blessing coming your way. And the blessing? It's bigger than you imagined. It's deeper than temporary validation. It's more eternal than a fleeting romance or a surface level dream. It's something that aligns with your soul, your calling, your healing. That's why it's taking time. That's why lesser loves had to fall away. That's why God allowed the heartaches to get you to the real thing. When you finally see the one who was meant for you, someone who sees your scars and still stays, who speaks life and truth and covers you in prayer, you'll thank God for every no that led you to this yes. When you walk into the purpose that matches your pain, you'll look back and understand why the road had to break you before it built you. So breathe, beloved. You're not cursed. You're being curated. Carefully, divinely, patiently, every tear you've cried is watering the soil for something sacred. Keep holding on. God is not finished. Your blessing is closer than you know, and this time, your heart will be ready to hold it. Asterisk, asterisk, but the waiting, the waiting is where the real battle begins. It's not just about time passing. It's about what happens within you while time passes. Doubts crawl in, insecurities grow, louder. You start comparing your journey to others, wondering why they seem to find love, joy, success, and peace so easily while you're stuck in heartbreak and silence. And that's exactly where the enemy tries to break you, not through the heartbreak itself, but through the isolation that follows. The enemy knows if he can convince you that your story is stuck, you'll stop believing for more. If he can make you question your worth in this season of breaking, you'll settle for less in the next one. So he whispers, "You're too broken now. No one will love this version of you. Maybe this is all you'll ever get." But God speaks louder in silence than the world does in noise. The problem is, you've been trained to listen to the world, to equate progress with presence, to equate comfort with confirmation. But the truth is, some of the most sacred moves of God happen in the hidden places, in the wilderness, in the dark, and yes, even in the breaking. Because when everything familiar falls apart, you finally learn to lean on the only thing that never does: God's character. That's when your faith is no longer built on feelings or outcomes. It's built on truth. It's not the truth of what you see, but the truth of what God promised. So maybe he allowed your heart to be broken, not just to protect your future, to purify your faith. Maybe he's been teaching you to love him in the absence of blessings, so when blessings come, they won't become your new idol. That's hard, but that's maturity. And maturity is the ground where divine blessings flourish. You're not who you used to be, and that's the point. Before the heartbreaks, you might have chased people who didn't value you. You tolerated red flags, mistook crumbs for feasts, and believed that love meant always giving even, when it meant losing yourself. But now, you've grown. The heartbreak softened the parts of you that were rigid, and strengthened the parts of you that were weak. You don't see it yet, but you're already walking in the harvest of that heartbreak. The discernment you have now, the wisdom you carry, the way you now pause and pray before jumping in, all of that came from the breaking. You're not broken. You're seasoned. Asterisk, asterisk. And the more seasoned you become, the more precise God's blessings need to be. That's why it's taking time. That's why it feels like delay. Because divine blessings don't rush. They align. And God will not send you someone who's still in a season you've outgrown. He'll wait until your pace matches theirs, so you can walk together, not tug each other backward. So now comes the hard question. Can you trust God with your heart even when he keeps breaking it? Can you trust that he's not playing with your emotions, but preparing you for elevation? Can you believe that maybe the heartbreak wasn't the end, but a door being shut so a better one could open? Here's a deeper truth. Every breaking has had a purpose. Every one of them. That situationship you mourned for months, it taught you to set boundaries. That relationship you thought would be the one, it exposed where you still needed healing. That betrayal that broke you in half, it taught you to stop idolizing human loyalty and start anchoring yourself in divine stability. You see, pain is often the pathway to clarity. It forces you to stop fantasizing about potential and start dealing with reality. And reality is God sees what you don't. He sees the late-night thoughts they hide. He sees their prayers, or lack of them. Sees the spirit behind the smile. You fell in love with their highlight reel. God judged their heart. And that's why he took them away. Sometimes what breaks your heart most is exactly what God uses to protect your future. Let that sink in. Because when you understand that, you stop seeing heartbreak as punishment. Start seeing it as divine protection in disguise. And the more you see that, the more peace you'll carry in the middle of loss. But even now, you're still healing. Some days you believe again. Other days you collapse under the weight of memories and what-ifs. That's okay. Healing isn't linear. One day at a time. One prayer at a time. And let God write the love story that only he can orchestrate. One that will glorify him, stretch you, bless generations after you. And when that moment comes, you finally lock eyes with the person who's been praying for your growth. As much as you've been praying for theirs, you'll understand why the wait was long, why the healing was necessary, why the process was sacred, because love that's built on growth lasts longer than love built on feelings. And the love that's coming for you, it's not just emotional lights, eternal now, beloved. I want to hear from you. What is God teaching you in your season of growth? What parts of you are being transformed while you wait? Drop it in the comments. Your journey matters. Your story is not a footnote. It's a testimony in progress, and someone needs to read it. Someone needs to see that they're not the only one becoming. Let this community be a place where iron sharpens iron, where we grow not just alone, but together. If you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Join us as we continue walking in faith, in truth, and in preparation for the love that God is preparing on the other side of obedience. Your soulmate is closer than you think, but more importantly, so are you. Keep becoming, keep healing, keep trusting, because when love comes, you'll both recognize each other by the fruit, not the fantasy. And when that happens, you'll know you grew into it. Asterisk, asterisk, and when you do finally meet, then this soul God has been shaping in secret, just as it's been shaping you, it won't feel like fireworks exploding in the sky. It'll feel like peace, like the end of a storm, like silence that doesn't ache, but heals. Because when something is God ordained, it doesn't need to be forced. It flows. But until then, this waiting season is where your roots deepen. This is where your endurance is formed, where your identity is tested, where your calling is revealed. Not just revealed, it's anchored. Because true love doesn't meet you in confusion. It meets you in clarity. And here's the most profound part, beloved. You're not just waiting for a soulmate. You're learning how to be one. Someone who forgives quickly. Someone who doesn't carry the poison of past relationships into sacred, new beginnings. Someone who has learned that being alone isn't a curse. It's a classroom where God teaches you how to love yourself without needing applause. How to lean on Him when no one else sees your tears. How to walk in wholeness even with an empty hand. That kind of growth is rare. But you're doing it every time you choose silence over chaos. It's every time you decline the attention that doesn't honor your value. Every time you surrender to God what you cannot control, you're growing, quietly, consistently, faithfully. And what you may not realize is, your soulmate is going through this same transformation in their own corner of the world. They're turning down opportunities that don't reflect their destiny. They're letting go of habits that don't align with kingdom purpose. They're choosing healing over hurry. They may not know your name yet, but they're already praying for your spirit. They're asking God to give them the patience to wait for you, the wisdom to lead with love, and the discernment to protect what God brings together. Isn't that powerful? You're already connected in the spirit. Your growth is the bridge, but the enemy knows this. That's why, in your most fragile moments, he'll whisper, "You're too much," or "You've missed your chance," or worse, "You'll be alone forever." Lies, all of it. Because God isn't delaying your promise. He's developing your capacity. Capacity to love beyond fear. Capacity to remain faithful when tested. Capacity to recognize divine alignment and not run from it. Because your soulmate won't just be a romantic interest. They will be a mirror. A reflection of all the healing, surrender, and obedience you walked through when no one was watching. That's why your growth matters. That's why the pruning hurts. It's because what God is preparing you for cannot be built on convenience. It must be built on character. And here's something the world won't tell you. Being ready for love is more important than being found by it. Because what good is finding someone beautiful on the outside if your soul is still at war within? What good is rushing into connection if you're still bound by the fear of abandonment, the trauma of betrayal, the ache of rejection? God is inviting you to come higher. He's asking you to release the timeline, the pressure, the need to prove anything to anyone. He's asking you to trust that when the time is right, no force in hell can keep what's meant for you from arriving. But until then, grow. Grow in silence. Grow in prayer. Grow in how you love others. Grow in how you forgive, even those who never apologized. Grow in how you worship when nothing feels certain, because your soulmate, they're watching too. It's not from a distance, but from within their own story. And they're trusting that when they finally meet you, it won't feel like a beginning. It'll feel like recognition. And that only happens when two souls have been refined. This is the part of the journey where faith becomes your foundation, where your yes to growth becomes louder than your fear of being alone, where you stop wondering, when will they come? And start declaring, Lord, keep making me ready. That's a powerful shift. It moves you from desperation to alignment, from chasing to becoming. And when you become, you attract not through force, but through fruit. The fruit of patience, the fruit of peace, the fruit of spiritual maturity that makes you magnetic, not to attention, but to destiny. You are becoming someone's answered prayer, and they are becoming yours. But you won't find them while clinging to what's familiar. Sometimes you have to walk away from good to make room for God's best. So don't settle. Don't lower your standard just because waiting feels uncomfortable. Don't return to the cycle just because being alone is quieter than heartbreak. There is someone out there who will cherish every scar you carry, not because they idolize your pain, but because they recognize your growth through it. They'll see your healing as beautiful, your boundaries as sacred, your purpose as necessary. But to meet that person, you must become someone who believes. That kind of love is deserved, not earned, not begged for, not manipulated into being, but deserved because you finally believe what God has been trying to show you all along. You are already worthy, not because of who comes into your life, but because of who created you. Your worth doesn't begin when someone loves you. It begins with God's love for you. And when you fully receive that truth, everything changes. You stop being afraid of being alone. You stop tying your identity to your relationship status. You stop measuring your value by how many people notice you, because deep within, you know you are already seen, already chosen, already loved beyond comprehension. And in that space of divine security, the real soulmate connection will flourish. It won't compete with your purpose. It will complement it. It won't drain your energy. It will multiply your capacity. But again, that kind of love only comes to those who've grown into it. So if you feel like giving up today, if you feel like the wait is too long, if you're tempted to go back to what you left behind, pause and ask yourself this: who am I becoming in this waiting? Because your becoming is the seed. Is it the harvest? It's closer than you think. You may not see it yet. But something is shifting in the spirit. Something is aligning behind the scenes. Something is being orchestrated with divine precision. And when the moment is right, and the growth has completed its work in both of you, you will not miss each other. You will recognize each other. You'll look back on this waiting season, not with bitterness, but with awe, because you'll see how every tear watered something sacred, how every not yet from God was really a trust me, and how every lonely night was a step closer to a love that could actually hold your soul without breaking it. So keep growing, beloved. Your soulmate is not just on the way, they're becoming the version of themselves you deserve. And so are you. Before you leave, I want to hear from your heart. What's one area of growth you've been focused on in this season of waiting? Drop it in the comments. Be honest. Be real. This space is safe. This space is sacred. Someone else is watching, needing encouragement to keep growing too. Make sure you're subscribed to receive more divine messages like this. Turn on your notifications so you never miss the next step in your journey. And if this word spoke to you, share it. Don't keep the blessing to yourself, because someone else is waiting. And they don't even realize they're being prepared for something this beautiful. And if no one has told you lately, you are loved. You are seen. You are growing, and you are right on time. And yet, even with all the growth, the enemy will still try to sneak in. He knows you're on the edge of something holy. So he'll whisper that old lie, you're too much. You're too late. You're too broken. He'll try to make you believe that your heartbreak disqualifies you. But listen to this, beloved. God doesn't disqualify the broken. He anoints them. He uses the ones who've been through the fire, the ones who've wrestled with the weight, the ones who've questioned, cried, and still come back to him when the world goes silent. The ones who've been rejected but never abandoned. You may feel like you're walking through ashes, but God is getting ready to crown you with beauty. You may feel like all that's left is pieces, but God specializes in mosaics made from shattered fragments. And the most sacred part of your story is not that you waited, it's that you worshiped while you waited. That you kept praying even when the answer was silence. It's that you chose to trust when your heart was torn. That you stayed faithful when every part of you wanted to run back to what was familiar. That is divine courage, and it's the very courage that will carry you into your promise. Now hear this deeply. Your next season will not look like your last, because you don't look like your last season anymore. God's breaking didn't just change your relationships. It transformed your identity. You've become more anchored. You've become more discerning. You've become more rooted in truth, not emotions. And that's what God wanted all along. Not just to bless you externally, to fortify you internally. Because without inner strength, outer blessings collapse. So what's coming next isn't just a relationship. It's a divine partnership. It won't be built on ego, control, or superficial attraction. It will be founded in prayer, in purpose, in peace. It will feel like divine alignment, not emotional chaos. And when it comes, you won't have to beg for clarity. You won't need to ask 10 friends to interpret red flags. You won't be anxiously guessing how they feel about you, because God doesn't bless confusion. He blesses confirmation. There will be clarity. There will be fruit. There will be peace. But more importantly, there will be honor, because the one God is preparing for you won't just love the way you look. They'll love the way you pray. They'll love the way you carry your purpose. They'll love the parts of you that the world overlooked, and they'll see the oil that your pain produced. This kind of love won't drain you. It'll multiply you. But before that love arrives, you're called to something even more important. Intimacy with God, because if your identity is still rooted in someone else's validation, you'll hand over your heart before it's ready. And that's why the heartbreaks kept happening, to pull you back into alignment. To root your confidence in God, not man. So let him be enough. Let his love saturate the cracks. Let his word be your anchor. Because when God becomes your center, no man or woman can shake you. And when love comes, it will find you already whole, already healed. It's already standing in your anointing, already walking in your truth. But what if the blessing isn't a person? What if it's something deeper? If the blessing is you finally seeing yourself clearly, what if the blessing is peace that no relationship could give you? What if the blessing is purpose that finally pulls you out of the pit of comparison? What if the blessing is becoming the version of yourself that no longer compromises just to? Beloved, that is divine. And yes, relationships are beautiful. They are not replacements for identity. God has been using every broken piece to remind you of that. You are not waiting for someone to make you whole. You're learning that you already are. You don't need to perform to be chosen. You don't need to settle just to feel seen. You don't need to cling to people who treat your heart like an option. You are already loved, already enough, already valuable. And the more you walk in that truth, the more you'll attract people who see it. So, stop dimming your light to be liked. Stop lowering your standards to feel included. Stop rewriting your values just to keep someone who was never assigned to your destiny. This is the season to rise, to reclaim the parts of you that heartbreak tried to bury, to fall in love with the woman or man that God is shaping in the fire, to finally realize that the breaking wasn't a curse, it was a calling. You were never meant to live small. You were never meant to love halfway. You were never meant to walk around with shattered confidence just because someone else couldn't see your value. God saw it. That's why he broke the bond. That's why he closed the door. That's why he said no to something your heart was screaming yes for, because he knew that if you stayed there, you'd never grow here. And here is where the blessing begins. Here, in the quiet space where you're no longer chasing. Here in the stillness where you hear God's voice again. Here in the solitude where your identity is no longer tied to who left. It's in this place that true love will find you. True love starts with God. And when he's the foundation, so everything else stands. So hold on, beloved, the blessing will come. The door will open, the love will align. Purpose will be fulfilled, but don't rush it. Don't settle for less just because you're tired of waiting. Don't sabotage the harvest because you're hungry in the in-between. Trust the timing. Trust the timing. Trust The pruning. Trust the God who has been with you through every heartbreak, because soon it will all make sense, and you'll look back and thank him not just for what he gave you, but for what he did. Asterisk, asterisk, so, my beloved. If your heart is still healing, know that God is still writing. This is not your final chapter. What's ahead is greater than what you've lost, and the love that's meant for you. It will find you whole and ready. If this message spoke to your spirit today, I invite you to share your story in the comments. Let someone else know they're not alone. Your healing journey may be the exact encouragement someone else needs. And please, don't forget to subscribe for more divine messages like this. This is your safe space where broken hearts meet. Divine purpose and waiting souls find their way back to hope. Until next time, keep healing, keep trusting, and keep becoming.